guys, today I'm going to be doing my July, August and September film wrap up. Of course, just going through all of the films that I watched during those times. I have since created a letterboxed account. One of you guys mentioned in the comments of one of my older wrap ups that, you know, it's a good way to keep track of films that you watch and stuff. I haven't really taken the time to sit down and go through reviews and add my thoughts and stuff really yet, but I'm hoping to do that relatively soon. I have put a few random ones on there, more of the later stuff that I watched that I don't think may be included in this video, but just so you know, once I've got that up and running, I'll probably keep a link to that in my description as well, just so you guys can go check that out. And perhaps I might end up eventually, once that's up and running and up to date, eventually I may just put like the generic reviews on there, so stuff that I don't have a hell of a lot to talk about, and just give you my star rating and head you guys over to that to check out my written review, and then only focus on the ones that I have a lot more to say. In my mind, that might then replace my like 3-in-1 reviews that I've been doing here and there of late, but we'll see. I still might do them, but what I'm saying is it might alleviate some of the things that I talk about in these videos, but we'll see as time goes on. So of course we're going to start with July. I only really watched one thing like to note about in terms of movies in July, and that was Frozen 2, which I ended up giving 5 stars. So obviously it's the follow-up sequel to Frozen, that everybody I feel like knows the general plot about it. It's following the relationship between these two sisters, and one of them has the power over ice and that sort of stuff, and this one really goes more into depth of trying to find the source of that power, to find out why Elsa has these abilities and the source behind it. And it's really interesting. I thought it was absolutely amazing, full on enjoyed it. The scene with Kristoff and his Meatloaf like Queen style rock ballad really made me chuckle. That was excellently executed. The cover of Into the Unknown at the end was absolutely epic. At first I was like, what have they done to the song? And then I recognised the unmistakable, amazing sound of Brendan from Panic at the Disco, and I was like, oh, okay, my mind's completely changed. This is epic, theatrical, amazing, loved it. Did you hear the sound of Brandon Urie? You really cannot forget that powerful theatrical rock sound that he has, that he's quite known for. Very operatic and just amazing. And yeah, anyway, the film overall was amazing. It had some great new songs in it, and I really enjoyed where the story went for this one. So going into August, we have Her, which I gave 4.5 stars. This one I actually want to film a separate review for. It's actually the second time that I've seen this, but I have some more in-depth thoughts about it, and I think it'd be beneficial to talk about that in a separate video. So I'll give a link to the video whenever that comes about, of which I've yet to actually film a separate one for. I then wanted to watch some scary things. I think low-key I was trying to get into that spoopy Halloweeny mood very early on, and I ended up falling into the unending cycle of watching kind of trash horror, and the one I watched to start this all off was Slenderman, that came out in 2018, and I gave it a 2.5 stars. I've actually been wanting to watch this back since it came out. I was into like the game and watching like let's plays of the game when that came out, and then I heard the movie was coming out, I guess jumping on that bandwagon. It was just okay. So obviously if you don't know, the sort of creepypasta of Slenderman is that he's this long-limbed creature, no face, in a suit, and he's connected with like disappearances of children and stuff like that. So obviously the plot of this film is very much about that. It's following a group of 4 friends who try to summon him, and the story goes on from there. It had the girl from the Snowpiercer in it, the red-haired girl who's super crazy in the Snowpiercer, and she kind of seems to like those roles because she was kind of on that level in this film as well. And it also had the I can't remember her name, the Sabrina's best friend in the newer Sabrina show on Netflix, and I really, you know, it was interesting to see her in different roles as well. When they started searching about the legend of Slenderman, it really threw me back to the scene in Twilight where Bella was like frantically searching up vampires, and it was just like, you know, it was just a lot, and it really had me chuckling. It was just hella dramatic, but you know, it was somewhat watchable. I probably wouldn't watch it again. It was just kind of bad. But thinking back on it, I had a good time because I was laughing, but obviously that wasn't the aimed for result of the film, you know. And then I watched Unfriended, which came out in 2014, and this one I liked a little bit better. I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, again, the next night, literally the next night, I was still in the mood for that horror kind of vibe, and I found another cringy horror. So this one is based on, you know, the idea of cyberbullying, and this, in this particular instance, it leads to a classmate committing suicide, and you do see that scene, so it is quite graphic. So go into this film knowing that you're going to see some graphic stuff, and it's also about a group of friends becoming a target from an online stalker, and it all wraps together and is entwined. It kind of reminded me of like 13 Reasons Why, but horror, if you know what I mean. I knew there was going to be a well-timed jump scare, but it still got me at the very end. It was actually quite enjoyable, and I like that it takes place kind of over Skype, and using that, it makes me think of our time now where we're like obviously using a lot of video recording services, video communicating services and stuff at the minute, and the silences and clicks, you know, that went ahead, like really like connected with using Skype, you know, the sound effects and stuff, it really added to the atmosphere. So it was cringy, it was kind of awkward to watch at times, but it's actually really interesting, and I guess it would cater to the demographic of, you know, people that use Skype group chats and stuff like that, more when it was 2014, because I don't think until COVID I hadn't really been on Skype, well, I still haven't been on Skype, but generally the population, that's when Skype was big, do you know what I mean, like people were messaging their friends and stuff, but it's kind of come back again now. But anyway, generally enjoyable. I liked where it went, for sure. Then I watched Noah, which was a 2014 release, and I gave this 4.5 stars. This is the second time that I've seen this, and all I remembered is that it was like really crazy epic. So it's loosely about the biblical story of Noah and building the ark, trying to save humanity when God decides to, you know, create a flood to kind of restart, and chooses worthy people to rebuild the population, which is Noah and his family, having to get 2 of every animal to make sure that the earth can be populated again by different species and flourish in that way. It wasn't as mind-blowing as I remembered it being the first time I watched it, but it was still a really beautiful and intense portrayal of the biblical story without being too heavy on religion. I like that they refer to God as the creator, so it feels more universal, you know. It doesn't say God, although it's a biblical story, I feel like anyone could really enjoy it and appreciate it because it's not in your face with the Christian religion of God, if you know what I mean. And saying creator gives it more of a universal feel, to me anyway. I thought that it had some fantastic actors in it. Again, Snowpiercer's brought up again because it has that actress who's the main actress, or the main lead actress in Snowpiercer. I'm really bad with actor and actresses' names, I do apologise, but hopefully you know who I mean if I try to describe them. And it had the main guy, I can't remember his name, but he's a big actor as well, and some other bits and bobs I really liked. Beautiful imagery, the cinematics in this was fantastic again, and I was still just in incredible awe of the depiction of animals that they would have had, as well as animals that, you know, we're more familiar with. I thought it was fantastically done, and it's a very engaging plot as well. I feel like they should, like, I don't know if this has been done, but whoever directed this should go ahead and do like a series of these biblical stories in this more universally user-friendly way. It makes them seem so much epic, and for me personally, I enjoy reading about different religions and myths and things like that, and what people believe in, and I feel like this is a really like cool way of kind of learning those stories. So yeah, I think I'm sure there's already films like that out there, but I just like the way that this was done. So yeah, that was a 5-star. Going into September now, I watched a favourite for me, and this is Howl's Moving Castle, and I gave that 5 stars. A many times rewatch for me. This was just so magical. Howl's Moving Castle follows the story of Sophie, and she does something to cause the wrath of this witch of the waste, and it curses her, and she has to try and find Howl and his moving castle to kind of lift the curse. Emo Howl is the best kind of Howl. I still always wonder how Sophie stops sounding British when she's old. Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't know why they wouldn't have got a voice actor that is also British, because she sounds American. It just something that irks me a little bit. The ending is definitely conveniently happy, which is a little bit annoying, but I do love it. It's weird and great. I think I'll try and do a more in-depth review at a later date, because I do have an idea in my head that I want to do a movie versus book review for it, and also do like a reading vlog or something. So I might try and accumulate my thoughts a little bit better and talk about it again at a later date if you guys are interested in that. And then I watched Extinction, which I gave 4 stars. I wasn't really expecting to enjoy this that much, but I did, and I was really pleasantly surprised about that. We was kind of getting into the mood of watching First Contact with Aliens movies, and at first I thought it was going to be that, but it kind of is, but just on the surface, if that makes sense. It kind of seems like that, but just wait, it was great. It's one of those ones I don't really want to give you too much about, because I feel like it would spoil it. But yeah, it's kind of First Contact with Aliens, but it twists like wow. At times I asked things flippantly and by the end I was like, my subconscious just knew. That's why I kind of picked up on things but stored it in the back of my head, not thinking anything of it. I wasn't sure who to root for by the end, and it just goes to show how there's usually more than one side to a story. So I definitely recommend that if you're interested generally loosely in First Encounter with Aliens, but expect a really cool twist. Then we watched 9, which I gave a 5 star. I feel like I've seen this before, but even so, it felt like I was watching it for the first time. So it's set in a post-apocalyptic Earth with these like little fabric doll creation figure things. 9, who we're following the perspective of, is figuring out what he is and why he exists, and how the world is how it is during this like post-war suffering, with human bodies sprawling all over the place. It's very moving, and it talks a lot about technology taking over in a very dramatic but very relevant way, and of course on a very fantastical scale. It's like animation. I don't know if it's stop animation or what, but it's beautifully designed. And yeah, it's just weird. I feel like I've seen it before, maybe something similar. But yeah, it's a really great film. It's an older one as well. I watched another weird horror-esque weird thing. It's called Await Further Instructions. I gave it 2 stars, and all I can say for this is what the fuck. That is it. Okay, and then we checked out something called #Alive, which I gave 3 stars. It was a new movie through Netflix, or Netflix had just put it up. And it's somewhat a timely horror movie about a virus taking over, essentially a zombie kind of virus, following a guy stuck in his home and trying to find a way out and to see if his family is safe, basically. It's a Korean thriller, apocalyptic kind of movie. Straight away it hit with that convenient trope that I really dislike about the family easily being out of the way to kind of stop you asking where they're at. Of course, as well, we follow a techie kind of dude that seems to be doing well despite the situation. More and more convenience kind of ensues in this film, but however, it was really entertaining throughout the whole thing and had me really hooked. So it had a lot of tropes that I didn't enjoy, but together as a collective it was enjoyable, which is a bit contradictory, but yeah, I liked it. And then lastly, for that month, what was that, September? Yeah, I watched the most in September, I think. I watched Project Power, which I gave a 5 stars. It's got to be like a favourite film for me, I think. This was such a really cool concept and reminds me a little bit of Bright in the fact that it's like a magical cop film. It's sort of like magical realism in that way. I keep feeling like it should have been a TV show with the way it was going, but it was amazing just straight away. I loved this idea of power. So in this world, there are these pills that you can take, so it kind of almost follows like this undercover drug situation. There's these pills that you can take that give you a power, but you don't know what power it's going to give you, and obviously it's kind of trying to trail back to the source of these as more and more people are using this substance and using it to aid criminal activities and behaviours, basically. But I really would have liked to have known more about the origins of it more deeply and how it came to be. We are seeing a lot of it, but I just feel like I needed more. It was touched on, but basically not enough for me, I feel. However, with the sequel coming, I'm hoping that more of that will be explained, especially in relation to a certain character and their connection with this whole power and the start of it, really. The acting and the cast was just amazing, and it left me in spine tingling awe. So those are the movies that I watched in the last quarter of the year. Let me know if you've checked out any of these and perhaps you have some suggestions, you know, based on the movies that I've just spoken about, things that I might possibly like. Yeah, I'll speak to you in another video soon. Bye.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need